This video is brought to you by Water Removal Services. We are experts in mold detection, remediation, and removal. In this video, we are going to give you an overview of the mold removal process. In addition, I am in the basement of a house that we are currently completing a mold remediation job and will illustrate some of the concepts I will discuss. The background is a poly sheeting that is part of a containment strategy so we do not spread the mold to non-affected areas. Mold needs three things to grow: oxygen, a food source, and most importantly, moisture. Oxygen is all around us and is always available for mold growth. A food source for a mold spore is any organic material it lands on and absorbs. Food sources include sheetrock, latex paint, dust particles, wood, and paper. Moisture is the third and most critical component for mold to grow. It could come from any water source. Some examples include a poorly ventilated bathroom, damp basements and crawl spaces, flooding or water getting into the walls, broken or leaking pipes, leaking windows, leaking air conditioners. Obviously there are many others, but these are just some. Mold typically has a musty smell that alerts people to possible issues. Before starting any mold project, these general issues should be addressed. First, safety of the occupants and the individuals performing the mold remediation work. You should take all necessary actions to prevent cross-contamination or the spreading of the mold to non-affected areas. Eliminate the water source, which is creating the mold environment. Be sure to eliminate all mold with a process designed for non-porous, semi-porous, and porous materials. Porous is defined as the ability of a material to absorb water or for the water to penetrate. An example of a non-porous item would be glass or glazed tile. Carpet or sheetrock are considered porous, and wood and concrete are semi-porous. Locating the water or moisture source in a mold remediation process is a basic requirement for the mold project to be successful. As we discussed, moisture is the most critical element and must be eliminated for any mold project to be successful. The moisture source must be determined and eliminated. This can be as simple as a broken pipe or can be quite tricky to determine the source. The water source must be determined and eliminated. The following is an overview how to clean the affected area in a mold remediation project. Generally, the affected area should be vacuumed with a specialized HEPA filter vacuum. Any equipment used must be thoroughly cleaned to prevent cross-contamination. Non-porous surfaces should be cleaned to remove the mold and can be reused. Semi-porous materials can often be cleaned and reused. Two examples are wood and concrete. More porous materials, such as drywall or carpet, are hardly ever salvageable once they have been contaminated. An application of an antimicrobial agent is typically applied after removing as much of the mold as possible. An antimicrobial agent is a fancy name for an agent that is capable of killing mold. The chemistry of these agents has advanced and they are quite effective and safe when used appropriately. I am now going to illustrate the concepts I have described on a project we are currently working on. Behind this poly sheeting is a bathroom located in the basement. The basement had a musty odor. During the high humidity period in the summer, the odor was so strong the entire basement had an odor that made it uncomfortable to be down there. Here is a picture of the bathroom when we first encountered it. Okay, so it's typical finished bathroom. That's the light there, it's a little glaring. Okay, so it has a very big odor. In terms of appearance, there's not too much going on, but we do see what appears to be some growth. We'll know more after testing. Through a combination of sampling procedures, confirm the presence of mold. Locating the moisture source, then eliminating it is an absolute necessity for a mold remediation project to be successful. The origin of the water was a vent for the dryer. It was not venting outside, but the moisture was venting into the walls. The moisture was contained in the insulation as well as the sheetrock. The dryer was in the next room and the moisture made it behind the walls in the bathroom. My best guess is this problem was going on for an extended period which contained the elements for mold to grow: oxygen, sheetrock and latex paint, the food source, and moisture, the most critical element that led to the mold growth that probably took months and even years to develop. Here is the picture after the remediation. As we discussed, the moisture got into the insulation in sheetrock and was a perfect place for the mold to grow. The insulation in sheetrock had to be removed. Again, the sheetrock cannot be saved and has to be removed along with the insulation. We use a specialized HEPA vacuum on all surfaces to remove as much mold spores and dust particles as possible. All non-porous materials were cleaned and can be reused. We applied an antimicrobial agent on the remaining items in the bathroom. After the bathroom was completely dried, we used our HEPA vacuum again, wiped off the remaining items with a cloth moistened with our antimicrobial agent. I want to emphasize that we use specific protocols to ensure there was no cross-contamination in the cleaning process. The wood, a semi-porous material, was sanded, treated with an antimicrobial, dried and sealed so we can be assured there was no chance for any mold to grow. I would like to emphasize some important concepts as illustrated on this job. The amount of visible mold on the wall was relatively small, but the bathroom created an uncomfortable smell in a 900 square foot basement. After confirmation that mold existed, locating and eliminating the water source was absolutely necessary. It was quite tricky and took some detective work to locate and solve the problem. The sheetrock, which was contaminated, had to be removed along with the wet insulation. The mold was in the sheetrock, and an application of an antimicrobial agent would not have solved the problem. Additionally, the water source would not have been found and stopped, and the insulation in sheetrock was still wet, and mold would have continued to grow. A major concern in a mold remediation project is cross-contamination, or the spreading of mold from an affected area to a non-affected area. We have set up a containment area to ensure that cross-contamination does not occur. Mold growing from the bathroom to other areas of the basement. There are a variety of procedures we use to ensure we do not contaminate other parts of the structure. Some techniques to prevent cross-contamination include setting up a containment area, negative air, making sure the HVAC system does not spread the contamination, and double bagging affected items in the affected area as to not contaminate other areas. We use a variety of personal protective equipment to ensure our safety during a mold project. Some basic equipment include an air purifying respirator. Here is a picture of a half-face respirator, a full-face respirator, a protective suit with gloves. Of course, a respirator would be worn with the suit. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you have gained some insight into the mold remediation process. I want to emphasize that this video provides a general overview of best practice. Every situation is different, and professional judgment can influence specific decisions that are made on a particular job.